His name is Aaron, if you want to say hi.
Hi, Aaron.
All right, we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. My name is Shaylee Liberator, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admission here, and I will be supervising this position.
It's nice to meet you, Ms. Liberator. Did I say that right?
Liberator.
Liberator. That's pretty neat.
Justin McMillan, the Coordinator of Multicultural Affairs and Student Life.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you also.
I'm James Farmer. I'm the Transfer Coordinator here in the Admission Office.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Laura Eggert, Resident Coordinator for the Office of Housing Residence Life.
Nice to meet you. Say Edgar? Laura Edgar?
Eggert.
Edgar. Yeah. Nice to meet you. And I'm Miss Rudy. Lindsey Rudy.
And we will be asking you for a lot of examples during the interview. Basically, we'll do the little elevator pitch, and then we'll go into the question portion of the interview.
Okay.
So, whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, I would like to talk about Shawnee State University. I would say that the main thing, there's three main topics that set Shawnee aside from other universities, I feel like, is the 1-to-18 ratio. You know, the one professor towards or per 18 students. And, yeah, which gives more, I guess, just makes it extremely more comfortable for the student. And in my personal experience, it prepared me for graduate school. So, I mean, they didn't have, when I was here, they didn't have the graduate programs, but it prepared me. It really did. I was actually in the top of my class because of Shawnee State. So, because of the one-on-one. And then I'd also say because of the low tuition rate, the tuition rate's one of the lowest in the states. It's been that way for a while. And the third thing would be just the overall, I guess, outlook of the entire university. Like, it's safe, the safe student housing, everything. It's a one-stop shop pretty much now because you have grad programs, there's undergrad programs, there's 80, right, bachelor and associate programs. So, yeah. So I truly believe that Shawnee really, truly is one of the best colleges in the state to go to. So, yeah, that's my pitch.
Okay, now starts the gauntlet of questions. Give us an example of how you have reached out and made contact with people to promote an activity or an event.
Okay, well, we were going to do a fundraiser in Ironton. I was, I guess, subbing, interning for Ironton City School District, and we were wanting to put together something that for, I guess you could say, like IEP classes, IEP courses, like underprivileged kids, okay? And it was me and the counselor, so we went straight to the dean. So that's how we, like the chain of command that we've had to follow. So we came up with some ideas as a group, and then we held a fundraiser, like a car wash fundraiser. So, and we got it approved by the superintendent. So.
Give an example of a project you have been responsible for and how did it turn out?
Project I've been responsible for? Honestly, I am trying to think of a project that I've been responsible for, because most of my internships I've done counseling, you know, and like advising. Let me think for a minute.
Sure.
Of a project. I'm sure there's been a project. Well, there was a research project. Does that count?
Sure.
I had to do like crime scene investigation. It was just it was a longitudinal study, so over 4 years. So it was here actually at Shawnee State, and that was the project. If you want to know a little bit more about it, but it wasn't. Oh, and I was the president for Shawnee State Psychology Club. I actually kind of like brought it together, and we had projects left and right. For that, we did like little stress balls, like little beanie bags or whatever, and then we did, now it's like all coming to me, we did like a fundraiser, well we did that fundraiser for SNC Cancer, So, and then we did like another fundraiser for the shelter. And we did, like, that was during Halloween, and we did the whole, like, stick your hands into really creepy stuff and try to guess what it was. And both of those those worked out really well. So those were projects, too. So.
How do you plan a project or a new initiative that has been assigned to you?
How do I plan one? Well, I would probably get together the people that are working with me, or if I was working on my own, I would probably gather up some information first on whatever you were needing the project to be. And so yeah, that would be my first steps, would be to gather the information up, because I don't really know what you know what I mean? Make sure I know what I'm doing before I...
Can you describe for us an example of a process or service that you worked to improve for your organization and describe the results of that improvement?
A process or what? I'm sorry?
Or service that you worked to improve for your organization.
Okay, well, a process or... Let me think. This is a gauntlet. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I wasn't expecting these.
Yeah, we're not even scratching the surface yet.
I'm
a lot of
sorry.
questions.
I'm so sorry. I need to be more on my game. Let me see. Honestly, since I've been out of my grad school, while I was doing my internship, I actually volunteered to help out with, it was called TLC. It was counseling for, like, high-risk kids. So I actually went out of my way numerous times. It was a paid job, but, like, I went out of my way from the pay to, talk to parents and try and get those kids into some activities involved in school, because they were kind of rejected from their school, and they didn't think that they'd be able to make it into college. So I'd also work, like, do their FAFSAs and try and get them some scholarships too. So I guess that's a way that I went out of my way. Did I answer that right? I don't know if I... Sorry.
Yeah. What are your experiences with creating schedules that span weeks or months?
You say that begins in weeks or months?
It spans.
Spans.
Yes, spans weeks or months.
My experience? Or
Mm-hmm.
I have pretty good experience with scheduling. I do that now in my job. I work in operations. So at STAR, Community Justice at the prison. So in Franklin Furnace. But yeah, I do that daily, scheduling. So time management. Literally tracking times, people's times, and scheduling. So, and then also I have to maintain my own time and schedule my own time too. So.
Give an example of when you planned something out well in advance and then you had to make a last minute change. How did you handle the situation and who was involved?
Well, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, if something like that did happen, I would make sure, I'd put the priorities first, like whatever that last minute thing was, you know what I mean? If it was higher up, I guess, on the chain of command of importance, I would probably end up having to put that first and then call ahead to the person that I'm going to, or either reschedule or tell them that I'm going to be X amount of minutes, running behind. So that's probably how I would handle it.
Explain how you use event feedback to make changes for future events.
Event feedback. Well, I would probably, if I guess a bunch of parents or students provided feedback for something, if like they'd leave a comment box or just come to me personally.
Yeah, anything.
Either way.
Any kind of feedback.
Well, I'd actually probably tally up a poll or something and see if there's any correlations, with what people were saying. Like maybe some people said the same thing. So then we would probably look on how to address that and how to make those changes and make it more towards what the needs of the parents and students are. I guess what would help them better.
How do you respond to conflict, and can you walk us through your problem-solving process and provide an example?
Yes, yeah. My approach, I guess, to conflict would be, I kind of just handle it on an outsider end. Like, I don't let my, I guess, self get into the problem itself. I try and address both sides equally of what's going on, and then try to find any similarities or what one person is saying, and then the other. Are you talking about like two different people, or just somebody's gotten a complaint with like something that's happening at Shawnee?
Just in general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's probably how I handle it. Would meet with them separately, you know, but then, yeah, come to a conclusion. So.
Describe an issue or emergency that has come up during a program or event that you were having, and how did you handle that situation?
Issue or emergency? Like when it rained here at Shawnee on graduation? No, okay, well, there's actually an emergency that was happening while I was teaching class at work. It was a pretty significant emergency, and I'm just trying to how to word this quickly. And okay, there's like 15 locked doors, like padded locked doors. So it's a very high risk, high security place. So you kind of got to be on your feet 24/7. But there was an emergency, so we got it all over the radio. Well, then I unlocked my classroom door, and then I escorted all the other females out back into the day room, and then I responded over the radio, and then came back in and waited on other people to come in and address the fight, I guess you could say, situation. I really sugarcoated that. Like, I've not had to like talk about that yet, so I severely sugarcoated it. But I followed our protocol, mainly. That was the protocol, so that I would do the same thing here. That's the main thing. So.
Give an example of a recent decision that was difficult to make when working with students. Walk us through how you made that decision.
Okay. Well, with one of my high-risk kids, he wanted to go to school for nursing. Well, he already had, like, a felony. So, you know what I mean? That was really difficult because his goal was to become a nurse. I mean, that's what he wanted. And I mean, I had to kind of be the bearer of bad news and break it to him that, you know, that wasn't going to be able to happen, at least not for 7 years from now. So I told him to go back to school, you know, maybe continue with general courses, you know, and if he changes his mind during that process, then that's okay. But if not, then he can, you know, talk to his probation officer and see what his options are at that point as far as his felony being lifted. Realize I've talked a lot of. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I am sorry. It's like a different world.
Yeah.
In
some ways.
Yeah. I came from the school, then I went there, and then so I'm there. But I came from the school.
Give an example when you were given a job to do and you were unable to complete it on your own. What made you come to that realization, and how did you go through the process to request assistance?
Well, I actually became a little overwhelmed. And then that first second of getting overwhelmed, you start messing up. So that's the first thing that you don't want to do ever, is get to that point. So when I realized a long time ago, you know, you learn from your mistakes, you eventually ask for some assistance, you know, on a project. If you've got too much going on, or if you might not understand exactly everything about it. So. Because I would rather ask than completely mess it up, you know.
What experience do you have speaking to large groups and to individuals?
I have a lot of experience speaking to large groups and to individuals. about 5 years of experience of that. Both the kids, like attendances. When I was interning, I interned for like 4 different schools with school counselors here in Sauter County and Lawrence County. And I've done attendances there, and I've done a lot of individual counseling, both on the clinical side and the school counseling side. I used to work at the counseling center too, doing individual counseling. But yeah, I work regularly now doing groups of like 15. So with, mind you, they're felonies. So like they have felonies, so it's high risk. It's a lot more stressful than what it is teaching a classroom. That's why I really want to get back into the school system. You know? So.
How do you change your method of communication to meet your target audience?
Like talking to teenagers as to talking to adults.
And
like
supervisors, or
supervisors.
different groups of people.
How do I change it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it just kind of. I mean, honestly, it happens. Like, I guess I form my lingo more to what they can understand, and like I'm not going to use big words with a teenage audience. I mean, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy, and then they're not going to pay attention to what I'm saying. You know, so I definitely changed the way I speak and what I say and how I say it. And then if I were talking to supervisors, I would use the more professional terms. I mean, I'm not going to cuss in front of teenagers or anything, you know, but.
Provide examples of when you didn't communicate well, and how did you handle / correct it?
Well, actually I've had training in that. Like, I will say something, and if it looks like that person might have misunderstood what I've said, or that they completely did misunderstand what I said, I correct what I'm saying, and I do the same thing, like, if I'm listening to somebody. Like, okay, I hear you. I started kind of doing it with you guys. I try to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying to me, you know, so that's kind of programmed in. Because in counseling or advising, you have to do that, because one word somebody can mean something completely different from what you think.
Give an example of when you had an interaction with a difficult person, and how did you handle the situation?
Well, I'm very laid back. I really am. As far as, do you want an example, you said?
Yeah,
of a difficult situation. A coworker, actually. It was a coworker. Our personalities, I guess, are different. I mean, they were different. And she was very, very, like, introverted and laid back, and I'm laid back to an extent, but I'm extroverted also. And she had misunderstood. I had said something during group, and like she misunderstood it, and I had to like I guess, because I asked her if there's anything wrong, or you know if I had said anything to offend her at any point, because she seemed to be upset with me, and she said that there was something I said during group, and then she took it one way, and I meant it a complete different way. So once we settled that, it was all right. So.
Can you give an example of how you connect with and recruit a new group of students?
An example of
how you connect with and recruit.
Okay. Well, if it's just students in general, if it's students, I can develop rapport with students pretty easily. Honestly, it's truly what I am pretty good at, honestly. So, is developing rapport with students and counselors. To recruit them, I would just talk about Shawnee, you know, and list the high points and answer any questions that they had. So, also point out the facts of the differences between like Shawnee compared to like Moorhead or Ohio State or wherever they were wanting to go.
You kind of just did this, but give us an example of when you and a colleague disagreed on a topic or matter and how you worked through the situation and what was the end result.
Well, that was actually, I'm lucky enough, that was the only time, like my entire career, that I had a colleague, like, disagree. Yeah, I'm sorry. That literally was the only time. I've been pretty lucky. Yeah, it was over something that was said during group. I don't even remember what was said, but she took it the wrong way, and I asked her, confronted her about it then, and I didn't wait like 2 weeks and let it get really awkward, you know, or get brought to the supervisor or anything, you know. So.
How have you utilized technology to communicate with different groups of people?
Very. Like, I have my phone, my email, I have Twitter, LinkedIn. I just got Facebook back. I didn't have Facebook for a while. I'm sorry. I got it back. So, and texting and so, but yeah, several different ways. I've got several ways of communicating.
Give an example of how you took something that was outdated or old and updated it so it was a usable piece.
Can it be furniture?
Sure.
Because I just did that. I mean, actually, I'll use something more professional. We've got a system at Star. Okay, it's more professional. It's not going to be a piece of furniture. They had 3 forms. They had 3 like spreadsheets, right? And I was in operations for just like probably about 2 weeks, and I realized that I was doing the same thing on all 3 spreadsheets, you know, over and over again. And there was like 3 differences. So then I brought it to my supervisor, and I'm actually in the process of making a new spreadsheet that has all 3 combined in one. So that was like the old and outdated. So now it's the new. Almost said hotness, but it's the new good. So it's a lot more efficient, way more efficient. So.
Can you give an example of how you have been innovative in your school, work, or personal life?
Innovative. That's a good word. Innovative in my school, work, and personal life. I guess work would be kind of one of the examples I gave you. I try to look for ways to make things more effective and, you know, more efficient, because I think that that's going to make any company better. I mean, at all times, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, or a tasking thing that's, you know, that you can put into one thing, it's a lot easier to do it that way, and then you could pick up more things that you couldn't before. So, but then, yeah, so school, I've done the same thing while I was in grad school. Like, I worked a job while I was in grad school, so I had to really cut things down, you know.
Give an example of when you pulled in people from several groups or departments, offices, to work together towards a common goal.
I was at St. Joe, and I had to pull in teachers because I was actually subbing for a counselor/intervention specialist there, and we were having some problems with the students' grades. They were way below average. They were falling way below the marker, and parents were calling with complaints. It was right at the end of the grading period, so I had to pull in the other speech pathologist, all the teachers, and a couple of parents too. So we kind of held a meeting and discussed the main issues that we were having. So, and how to get those kids back up to where their grades pulled back up. So, because a lot of them were IEP kids. So.
Give an example of when you were a part of a group project or a team and how you worked together. Were there any issues and how were they resolved?
A group project. Okay, well, actually, at work, as a part of a group project, we are getting ready to do a, I guess it's like a conservation thing. We're trying to manage more efficiency of time and like water and electricity and things like that, and trying to just bring more money into the facility. So I'm part of that project. We're bringing like gardening in, and Lawrence County Tri-State Industries is like bringing them out, so they're doing work outside too. So there's those two things, and then we're also starting like a knitting thing. We're bringing it back, so where the girls like knit like booties and things like that for babies that don't have it, you know. So children and babies.
All right, what are the most pressing issues facing college students today, and describe your experience dealing with these issues?
I'd say the most pressing issues would be money, you know, and finding a job when you're done. So, you know, the if, maybe, and then I would definitely say the money and the tuition, and that's one of the good things about Shawnee. It's a huge thing now, so, because tuition is rocketing through, like at Athens, and that is in my personal experience, because I'm paying loans out the wazoo, you know, from Athens. So, and Shawnee, I had nothing hardly. So, that's a big thing. That's definitely that's an issue. So, and then just safety, honestly, like safety, because it seems like Athens was getting a lot of horrible. I mean, I was getting threats, like, not me personally, but you know how they flash on your phone, like, probably once a month. So, the fact that Shawnee has a police force now, that's a big, big thing. And it's so tight-knit, too. I mean, it's not a really wide area. So.
What do you believe are the special issues facing underrepresented students, and can you describe your experience dealing with these issues?
Underrepresented students, like students from like multicultural. What do you mean? Like, what is an underrepresented? Can you describe what an underrepresented student?
Minority students, international students,
Okay.
Appalachian, first
Yep.
generation.
Oh, okay. So, what was the question again?
What do you believe are the special issues facing these students, and can you describe your experience dealing with these issues?
Yeah, one was language barriers. It's really difficult for students of like international cultures to come in and try to find their way around. I helped. I actually was in an organization in Athens that it was a multicultural organization, and I guess I helped like 3 or 4 of them. It was for a short time, but I helped them around the campus, you know, and tried to explain to them what was what, because they had a pretty bad language barrier to get around, and it was very frustrating. It was for them. So I'd say that's definitely a very large issue.
Give an example of when you've had to act in a customer service capacity, and what was the result?
Act in the customer service capacity, like work in customer service, or
Deal with, disgruntled
parents.
patron, parent, customer,
I do that every day. I do that every day. I answer the phones. I just apologize, and I try to adhere to what they're wanting, but then at the same time following the protocol of Shawnee. So like if they're upset that we can't give them their grades, then I would just apologize, and I totally dug a hole for myself. But yeah, I would apologize and then follow the protocol to what you guys normally do when it comes to a parent calling, and I guess being upset about grades. So, but at my work, I apologize, but then I tell them everything that I possibly can, and then just repeat it when, once again, I can't break HIPAA, I can't break the Protection Act, the Privacy Act. Well, and FERPA too, so.
What is your experience with selective or open admission organizations? The organizations can be academic organizations you were part of that was open admission or selective, or it can be, clubs, student organizations that you were part of.
Oh, I was Psych High at Ohio University, which is like an honor society for psychology. I was part of that. We did bake sales and we did walks. We did like a mental health walk. And I was, Shawnee State, the psychology. That was a big thing in my years here. It was a psychology club. So, and we did several things. So.
What do you do to stay motivated?
What do I do to stay motivated? Well, I actually have I have a daughter. I have a little girl. So, and she helps me, keep on track, stay motivated. And honestly, I don't know, I'm honestly a pretty motivated person. I've never even thought about that. So, I'm very, very goal stricken. Like if I have one goal done, then I'll set up another. I've just always been like that. The wheels are always turning. I can't help it. Sometimes I wish they weren't, but they are.
How does this position fit into your short or long-term career goals?
This position is very important to me because right when I was in my undergrad, I specifically went to grad school to be able to work in this university because it's in my hometown. It's where I grew up, Southern Ohio. My dad was here. I've known Shawnee for 10 years. I was kind of like bred for working, hopefully here. But in my long term, I would actually eventually maybe like to get my PhD or something, just depending on what you guys would need, So.
Provide an example, and you've alluded to the sum of when you went out of your way to help a student.
Okay. Well, there's plenty. There's tons of examples. You know what I mean? I had a girl that was. I had a little boy. He had missed a lot of school, and I didn't have to. I actually worked with him overtime. Him too. He had an IEP, and he had missed so much school that he was going to fail back a grade. So I took on the responsibilities of the intervention specialist that had to take off because of a family emergency. And I did her role, but then I tried to help this little boy out as much as I could to get him to not fail a grade. So I'd meet with him during my lunches. So, and about an hour after school, honestly, every day for like 4 months. So, sure. But,
Did he pass?
yes. Yes, he did. Thank God.
What would your supervisor say are your strengths?
Well, I'm very energetic. I'm a people person. I really am. I'm very adaptable. And I'm very goal-stricken. If I'm given a job, I do it. So, and I do it pretty quickly. So, I could go on. No, I'm just kidding. That question's always so,
Give an example of how you worked with information systems or the gathering of information and the role you played in that process.
Information systems. So, can you give me an example of information systems for you guys?
Yeah, like your technology
Just technology.
Yeah, basically.
Emailing, honestly, a lot of emailing. I hope I'm answering that right. Just emailing and texting, actually, phone calls. So, mailing, not so much, but occasional to like ACT. I mean, you know,
Right.
but that's pretty much it. I've got a lot of experience in Microsoft. I really do. So like making spreadsheets and things. So writing papers up.
What experience have you had working with with records?
I'm really familiar with Blackboard already. And as far as like database systems or just looking up records, like, so like okay.
Both, either.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys have you don't have EMIS. So like EMIS, well, I'm like there's like 5 different ones that I'm pretty familiar with. There's EMIS and CareLogic and EMTR. Like school counselors usually use these ones. So but yeah, that's in Blackboard and Live Text and Adobe. So I'm familiar with all of those. What system do you guys use here? You know?
We use CARS and it's Ginzabar based systems.
Gotcha.
And can you give us some examples of how you are staying current and the different trends in higher education?
CE, continuing education classes, and conferences. I just went to the ACA conference this past November. Last November. And constant newsletters. You know what I mean, in the mail. Once you go to grad school, you're set. If you go for school counseling or for higher education, I get a lot of things in the mail. So, and I'm a member of magazines too. So I've got it's like school magazine that